But don't forget, money ain't what it seems. Test 1, 2, 3.
No.
Manny. Oh. Hey, we're gonna start up.
Well established there, but
Are they going to do something
You're on
after
the mic, by the way.
a tour or something?
I don't know.
I guess I can ask them if you want, if later. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
we'll find out in a year and a half, 2 years.
All right, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming today. This is the April Northern California chapter of NAPCO meeting. Thank you very much to our host today, RGB Spectrum, for putting this together. It's a great facility to be at. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Before we get too much further along, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, a little bit of logistics. If you do need the bathroom, it's outside the office. Make a right down the hall, first left, and then it's on the way there. Doors should be open from what I understand, so we shouldn't need to be escorted around. So with that, let's do our introductions. My name is Carl Grover. I'm the current Assistant IT Director for the City of Roseville Information Technology Department, and I am your chapter president. And we'll start off right here with George.
I was wondering what this was for. Good day, George with JPS. I'm the, pardon me for that, Regional Sales Manager for JPS Interoperability Solutions. And I always tell customers that we're here to help solve communications gaps. Usually one of two types, the ones you don't know about and the ones you do know about. It takes about 10 minutes for them to figure out that there are any, so I usually have to talk about birds and pink elephants to get customers to realize they need our help. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Mandy Montalvo, Public Safety Communications Manager for Elk Grove and a member of your Board of Directors.
Good morning, I'm Chella Cottrell. I'm a Police Services Manager over at the City of Citrus Heights Police Department.
Good morning, Nikki Bell, Vacaville PD Police Services Manager.
Good morning, my name is Greg Glenn, and I'm with a company called Comba Telecom. And I am representing them on a position or in a position of licensee liaison. One of the things that we've learned over the years is that while we sell signal boosters, a lot of them are being used for the wrong purposes and in the wrong situations, and they're causing interference problems. I come out of 40 years of RF system design and Motorola and a few others. My specialty there was actual RF interference mitigation. And so my position with Comba now is to work with licensees directly that are experiencing problems due to the improper use of signal boosters. And there seems to be becoming a nationwide issue. So if anybody has any questions or needs any help, my job is not to sell you product. My job is to show you how to be able to use the products that we offer along with other companies, actually, but to use them in a manner that's safe and effective for your radio system.
Colby Matheson with Task Force. I am the technical account manager for the entire West Coast. We cover a full, we're test and measurement, so we cover a full line of LMR equipment focused on interference hunting, spectrum monitoring, radio test set, service monitors. We have Bird, Enritsu, PCTEL, SMS for interference hunting, and Viavi radio test sets.
Good morning. My name is Jason Fraze. I'm the Western Region Sales Manager and Colby's Manager for Task Force, and we're here to kind of learn applications and whatnot, and get a stake in the industry. And with we have a huge LMR, PMR profile. previous experience I have is at in Ritsu and the development, positive train control and the LMR master and stuff like that. So extensive experience in RF solutions, signal hunting, and setting up mass networks to identify types of things.
Good morning. Welcome. We're manufacturers reps. The company's called the Sales Group. You guys have seen us in and out of here. We try to attend every NAPCO gathering you guys have. We know some of the other vendors around here, have relationships with them. I have a new company product you guys are looking at and you're saying, what the heck is that? So if you guys have a need to put up a new RF site, it's challenging, it's expensive for you guys to put up a new tower. Well, you just may have a water tower nearby, believe it or not. So we have a relationship with this particular company. It's ES Tech Magnetics. And what you have here is very strong magnets. And the deal is these water towers, as you know, if you guys still have them, there's a lot of money invested to make sure the integrity of that tower does not get ruined, okay, because they rust really quick. So we've been tested, approved for Motorola, Crown Castle, Verizon, and other carriers to be able to use our product on metal structures such as a water tower. And they've tested the strength, and believe it or not, right, magnets on the side of a tower, very strong. So they've got some specific tests that we do where obviously Motorola, Verizon, and AT&T are quite happy with the specs that we actually provide. So if you guys need an alternative, you're working with Motorola, you're working with another whoever, let us know. We'll be happy to sit down and discuss their needs for you at whatever site you guys are trying to put up. If you want to see this, let me know. It's really cute. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. I'm with JPS. I'm a solutions engineer. Our company's based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm here with George Ziegler, as well as my colleague. We design and manufacture communication interoperability products, communication distribution, as well as probably one of the last analog voter receiver products. And we have new features coming out this year, SNMP, as well as the ability to transport over network links. So if you have an existing JPS SNV12 voter and you choose to eliminate those lease lines and want to transport over IP networks, we do have a solution for that. And we don't use GPS or rubidium time sources. We do self-timing and synchronization within our system exclusively. So thank you.
Thank you. Morning. My name is Drew Black. I work for Cal OES PSC in the CHP unit, and I mostly focus on getting them on our P25 network.
My name is Pete Wilson. I work for Cal OES, the PSC unit, and I am the caretaker of CHP low band radio.
Hi, my name is Stephen Eastloss with Stockton Fire, Division Chief for our ECD Center. This whole corner is the team that I have the pleasure to work with. So thank you.
Good morning, Anna Trinidad with Stockton Fire and your chapter vice president.
Yeah, good morning, Larry Smith, Stockton IT, and a member of your board of directors.
Good morning, I'm Larry Weber. I'm the president of the sales group, the company Barry works with. And by the way, that's Barry Driver. He always forgets his name in his most excellent presentations. And I'm pleased to be here today, especially because our company represents RGB Spectrum and has since 2019 helped to develop the product that we're going to be talking about today. So thank you for having us.
Good morning, Dan Marcus with RGB Spectrum. I run business development here. It's been fantastic being part of the APCO and NAPCO community. I've learned an immense amount, which has led to the development of products that better serve, hopefully, your interests. So we'll be talking more about that, but we're very happy to have you here and to continue to learn from you. Thank you.
Hi, Carlos Garcia. I am here to sell you something. I'm with the sales group. I just recently joined the sales group. I bring to the sales group the mission critical AV background in terms of command and control. So I've done 26 years of that, and here at the sales group, we have a wonderful catalog that actually fits into the command and control space, 911 dispatch, visually with displays, processing with RGB Spectrum as our partner, mounting solutions for your video walls, and furniture, so consoles as well. And we kind of put it all together as a turnkey solution for you. But thank you for having us, and thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Hi, I'm Janine Zaffino. I'm with Wildfire Technology Integration. We're an audiovisual integrator, but what's unique about us is we do focus on the command and control environment. So we have a specialist team, and our core focus is actually public safety. So we're really excited to be here, and RGB Spectrum is one of our premier partners. And we just look forward to any opportunity that we have to just discuss. We're doing a lot of the real-time crime centers, information centers. You guys all call it something different. But anything at EOC, any kind of emergency management, 911 dispatch. We'd love to talk. Thank you.
My name's Aaron Hall. I'm a captain with Stockton Fire Department, and I'm the ECD manager.
My name's Sean Allen. I am the Quality Assurance Specialist for the Stockton Fire Dispatch Center.
Good morning. I'm Terrell Harper, City of Stockton, IT.
Jim Lencioni, your chapter PIO. I work for Placer County Telecommunications. And as a reminder, we do have people viewing online, so anything said in the room should be said into a microphone so the people online can hear it, even though we can hear your voices loud and clear in the room. It is a great room facility. Thank you very much, RGB Spectrum. But our people online cannot hear you unless you're talking to a mic.
Good morning, Shelley McMahon. I'm with Cal OES Public Safety Communications. I'm also your chapter board director.
I'm Manny Vieira. I'm your chapter CCAM and also a member of the CAC, which is the Commercial Advisory Council for National APCO. Speaking of the CAC, we're always looking on the commercial side for factories to represent themselves in the federal level. So anybody that would like to talk to me about becoming a member of the CAC, please do that. I'm terming off finally next year after 8 years. So that'll be nice to have somebody locally represent us. Also, our chapter is always looking for members. So both sides, the commercial and the non-commercial side. So please talk to someone here if you have any interest in joining our chapter. And last, I'd like to just take a moment of silence. On the commercial side, one of our longtime factory president's owner, whatever he is and was, Jack Hines passed away this last week. He was a member of National APCO probably for 30 years. He was one of my original bosses like 29 years ago. So I just like to take a moment of silence for him. Thank you.
Thank you, Manny. Before you go too far, let's get into committee reports, and we'll just jump right into the commercial side, conference side.
Okay. So on the commercial side for our chapter, I believe all our meetings have been set, and I believe we have a sponsor for every meeting. I do have, in each meeting, we do have slots for 2 sponsors, and if somebody still wants to sponsor a meeting this year, please let me know.
I do have an update on that. FirstNet canceled their sponsorship in September, so we do have September wide open.
Oh, okay.
That's at the Jelly Belly factory.
All right, so September at the Jelly Belly factory is open. Somebody sent me an email yesterday, and I'll see when they want. Last is our show. As most of you know, last year we held the first annual California APCO in Los Angeles. It was well attended with over 640 attendees and about 75 vendors. We are doing it this year in Sacramento on September 30th, October 1st, and 2nd. As of today, We're at about 75 vendors that have said that they're coming, with over 55, I believe, that actually have paid now. So that's the good news. We have room for 100 vendors, and I believe we'll be close to that. We're going to be opening up volunteer slots real soon, so you can volunteer, and if you volunteer for a 4-hour shift, one day will be comped at the conference. If you do 2 4-hour shifts, the full conference will be paid for. So please think about that. For training side on the commercial, we have 80 slots for training, and I believe we are now at around 50 that have been asked for or spoken for. So we still are looking for more training as a vendor, because the showroom will not be, there'll be no training during the showroom hours. So if you want to do a training class, you can have that opportunity and not be off the showroom floor. Thank you.
Thanks, Manny. All right, awards and recognition. Anna?
Hi, good morning, everyone. We are officially a month away from our awards celebration that's going to be held this year in Lodi at Oak Farm Vineyards. It's going to be a great evening, May 8th, 6 p.m. If anyone is in the area and would like to join, that registration will be open next week. A great opportunity to come out, recognize everyone who's receiving an award this year, and enjoy some good food and music with everybody.
Thanks, Anna. Great job getting all that set up and squared away. All right, I have several committee reports. Tristan Scraber, our immediate past president, is currently at the Capitol alongside Calanina and Southern California APCO. They are accepting a telecommunicator resolution on behalf of each of those chapters for Dispatcher Appreciation Week from the Assembly of the House. So I have a couple of his committee reports as well. For FCC dockets, we'll talk about this more at frequency coordination, but there are a couple of FCC notice of proposed rulemakings to improve. One is to improve next-gen 911 services, and the other is to help first responders better locate wireless 911 callers through better vertical identification and locations. So more to follow in the frequency coordination meeting. For Executive Council, I just wanted to let everyone know that Jackie Barberini has stepped down as our Executive Council rep, which is basically the conduit from the chapter level to the national level and back. Tristan Scraber is stepping up into that role. Finance and budget, so the report from our treasurer, Jackie Andrews. So this is for the month of March. As of March 1st, we had $148,597.31. At the end of March, March 31st, we had $179,691.88. So a monthly income or monthly balance of $30,285.54. That is largely related to the income that Manny was referencing for the 2025 state conference. We do split all income and expenses and ultimately profit with our Southern California chapter, as that is a joint venture. Membership and nominations, so the membership report. As of April 4th, we are up to 729 members, 27 commercial members, 72 full memberships, and then 625 group memberships. So thank you all for being members, and like Manny said, if you guys are interested in becoming a member, there's a lot of value through that. See one of your board members or just go to apco.org and you guys can find more information about how to become a member. Member services, I'll just add on to what Manny was talking about with the 80 training classes that we're looking at. So there is a wide array of classes, multiple tracks, operational, technical, legislative, wellness, leadership, but there is also going to be a post-course available that we'll make sure that is there for those that are interested in doing that. That will be part of that registration process. Lastly, programs. So on the back of your guys' agenda that was handed out, there is a second page there, and that covers future locations for what's coming up. As Anna mentioned, the awards banquet is next in Lodi at the Oak Farm Vineyard. That is a 6 p.m. Start time that will take the place of our normal chapter meeting. So there will not be a normal May chapter meeting. And then our next chapter meeting will be in Lathrop at the Lathrop Manteca Fire Station number 35 on June 12th. And then July, we're over to Napa. I think that is it for committee reports. So we have RGB, oh, sorry, Jim.
So just to talk a little bit more about chapter information from the public information side, sorry, Carl. The conference. So we know that APCO heavily promotes their international conference happening in August for a single flash day where you can save up to $100 per ticket per registration for APCO International. That was April 1st, so if you didn't register on April 1st, you missed it. Sorry, can't do anything about that. However, if you missed that, you can't go to international this year, we would highly suggest coming to our conference. And our flash day lasts through May 31st. So you can save early bird registration all the way through May 31st, our conference. Our registration is now live. We would hope that members can go to both the international and our conference. I understand that if you can't. But May 31st is when our early bird registration pricing stops. The other benefit is you can save up to $200 for a full registration by being an APCO member. Now, if we do the math on that, APCO membership costs less than $200. So if you sign up to be an APCO member, you can actually save money by attending our conference by joining APCO International. So all the information is directly on the website. It is calapco.org. Registration links are there. If you are a member, you sign up to click on the registration link, and you get to select either member or non-member registration, and the pricing does change. If you're a member, you need to put in your registration, your membership ID number. I have a handy link on the CalAPCO website that shows you how to find your APCO membership number as well. So all the information is there for you to do. Registration is live now. If your agency can send you, great. But pricing is there. Like we said, if you are going to be volunteering, plan on volunteering to help your agency out, or if you need to pay for it yourself, wait for those volunteer links to come. Sign up to be a volunteer, and then in around July, we'll end up sending those links out to register for the discounted and free registrations for our conference. So again, that's all there now. We're excited that we have registrations open for the conference coming up, and we'll go from there. So if you have any questions, let us know.
All right, thank you. Good stuff, Jim. Thanks for all your behind-the-scenes work on that conference. All right, so the rest of the agenda for the day, 10 o'clock, we'll shortly be moving into the presentation from our commercial sponsor, RGB Spectrum. And then our keynote presentation will start about 11 o'clock. We've got 3 different members from 3 different police departments that are going to talk about real-time policing and the overlap with 911. And then 12 o'clock, we'll have lunch. 1 o'clock, we'll break out into 2 separate sessions, frequency coordination on one side, and then if there's interest, the operations working group on the other side of the room. So thanks again, everyone, for being here. Dan, do you need 5 minutes?
No, how's everyone doing? You need to take a break? A bathroom break or
All right, we'll start up in 5. All right, thanks everyone. 10:10. All right, everyone, we're going to get started again. All right, so with us today is Dan Marcus from RGB Spectrum. He'll be telling us about his products and services today. So thank you, Dan, for being here and again for hosting.
Thanks, Carl.
All right.
Thank you, Carl. How about now? Still no, George? Can I just say, as someone who I've run a production agency before, I've worked with a lot of technical directors. What a fantastic resource you have in Jim, who runs this audio system, sets this stuff up in record time. I said, Jim, did you run an agency? Did you used to do this? No, this is a side gig. I do this. I learned this on the job. Really, never worked in audio visual? You do really good cabling, all of the signal management. You use these traditional broadside of the market audio visual tools. You use them so adeptly, right? And he says, no, I just learned them because I needed to. And it's fantastic work. So really appreciate you, Jim. And I mentioned that Jim is using more conventional audiovisual tools that are typical in the market. RGB Spectrum is on the other side of that audiovisual world. We make unconventional tools that are really best characterized as audiovisual solutions to IT problems. And we are very focused on real time, so the kinds of markets that we work on include public safety, defense, which is probably our first market. Public safety grew out of that. And then surveillance and process control. So really all of our solutions are about improving situational awareness and creating system advantages for the applications that you use today. And I'll get into that a little bit. How do we take an application and give it wings? How do we take applications that you use? How do we take expertise that may reside in the ECC, in the 911 center, or in the fire DOC, or in the EOC? How do we take and leverage that expertise with an application and make it visual and make it available beyond that room, beyond that specific individual? That's really what we focus on across these different markets. When it comes to public safety, we have video walls in our DNA. So we really understand workflow, collaborative, front of room workflow. We know how to design an operations center, and that's where we come from. So we have a lot of experience there. But about 6 years ago, when we brought on Larry Weber's team with the sales group, we embarked on taking that know-how and really applying it to 911. So we've gone and deep dived into 911, and this organization has been incredibly instructive. Through our efforts and time here, we have developed tools specific to public safety by understanding the glue, right? Understanding the communication center, the 911 center, the ECC, the PSAP, by understanding the communications environment, by starting to understand radio infrastructure and all of the complexity that manufacturers who've been in this market for a long time understand well, but are new to us as AV solutions providers. We've been able to find some new solutions that we think address important problems today. So surrounding me are a number of different applications of our hardware technology. Again, it's all hardware, it's all audio-visual systems. That's not SaaS, it's not IT. So forgive me if there's some overlap. If there are some things that you think, well, maybe I could do this with IT, you probably can. There's always more than one way to solve a problem. But in our specific niche, in our areas, these are the best, most real-time ways to have access to the information that you need, when you need it, and network independent. And in public safety, boy, networks are a challenge, right? So we really look to improve the versatility of your expertise and your computer applications, your systems, and your sources by being able to deliver them to the front of room, to the operator position at the desk, and that visualization environment, and increasingly to portable solutions that can be turned up in an emergency, ad hoc solutions for fire base camps or for incident command. So these are the kinds of things that we are learning from you, and we are tailoring our products to support those kinds of innovations. I'm going to talk a little bit about what you see here on the right-hand side on our curved CM43 displays. These are displays that we built for 911. That doesn't mean that only 911 is interested in them, but it does mean that 911 was the genesis of this platform. We were working with a battalion chief in Los Angeles, and he said, Dan, we love your extend point solution. We love what you're doing at the desk, and we want it, but you have to solve a problem for us. There's no display that is the right size. There's nothing appropriate. So we broke with tradition. Normally we don't make displays. These are all partners who provide these displays for us. We're the brains or the content management systems underlying these displays. But for this particular individual and his team, Larry and his team and we all brought out cardboard cutouts of specific pieces of glass. How big do you want this to be? If we're going to subdivide this, if we're going to replace a system that looks like this, you all have seen this, right? If you're going to replace what we've come to call the octopus workflow with something that is more ergonomic, more healthful, if you're going to create something like this, what can we learn from our control room history, from our DNA, from video wall control room workflow? What can we apply to the desk? And so we looked at the sizing. We came up with the 43-inch, which is very much like the cockpits that we do in fighter jets. When we do simulation environments and after-action review for F-35, we get to see what far better brains in ergonomics think about what is the maximum rotation that a pilot ought to make. What kind of environment is healthy? What will keep you up and at 'em in a long shift? And so we came up with this display, and we subdivide it so that we can take a system like this that has necessarily 6 to 8 monitors with typically 3 to 4 keyboards and mice and 3 to 4 computers for very good reasons, for very good control room reasons. PSAPs are built like that, every single one of them, in order to have redundancy and load balancing and high availability. It all makes good sense, but the user experience is, I was going to say terrible, but I'm going to say challenging, because I know everyone who's sat behind these seats, and I've sat in a lot of 911 centers. I've sat on calls with communicators, telecommunicators. It's very impressive to see somebody who can run 4 computers simultaneously, and it's like I can barely pat. Am I patting my tummy? I can rub my tummy and pat my head. I can barely do that at the same time. So we looked at this and we said, how could this be healthier? How could this be more ergonomic? And we created this, which is here. So we are doing the same thing you saw a minute ago. These are different computers. And then we took our control room know-how. We said, if it makes noise, if it needs to be serviced, right? If you need to have a technician get into a system to maintain it, would it be better to have it under the desk where most people put it, under the console? Or would it be better to practice control room design and put it into your IT closet? So we built signal extension into that same capability set. Extend point allows you to put the computer anywhere. And once that computer's anywhere, well, that display and the control of the keyboard and mouse for that display can be anywhere. So that can be here, that can be on the video wall, that can be at the other desk, the other operator position, that can be at the supervisor's position. And it can be at all of those places at the same time, which allows for some really interesting use cases, such as training in place, right? Instead of migrating to a training room, you can train an operator while in the PSAP. You can take advantage of the systems that live at the primary positions, and you can move them somewhere else where you might want to have a sidebar and a training. You can provide supervision. So this is more than just an ergonomic solution. Now we're starting to get into command and control. Carlos on my team mentioned that he has spent a lot of time in command and control. These are the kinds of considerations we have. Really, who should be looking at the information and who should be able to do so easily? There are some IT ways to do that, but they don't play nicely over multiple networks. And the nature of 911 is a multi-network environment. So generally speaking, this is one of those use cases where audio-visual can provide a solution that's very easy and flexible, that doesn't care what you change, doesn't care what you add, doesn't care if you have a secondary radio system. Maybe you have a primary P25 radio system and you're looking at that there on the radio segment right there, but you also have an IP version maybe as a backup. So you have a secondary, but you don't look at them at the same time. So you're just going to flip them. You're going to change them on an as-needed basis without adding more monitors and keyboards, right? How did we get here? Over time. 911 didn't always look like this. This was more and better tools, more resources. And we have so many more resources coming, so many more systems, so many more capabilities, right? So now we're moving from 911 into real-time crime centers, which, to be fair, are a little closer to our DNA. A crime center looks an awful lot like an EOC from a visualization perspective, but has a lot of that 911 know-how built in, and a rich parallel. A lot of the same folks who come up and train through 911 make their way into the analyst community, and there are some specialization there, of course. But our goal is to make it very, very easy for different areas of the same department, different departments, and even other agencies to share resources. And as soon as you're doing that across multiple networks, boy, having an AV solution really does play well to that set of unique problems for public safety. I'm going to jump around a little bit. I'm not going to subject you to all of the technology that's involved. I want to give you kind of a high level here. And then if you'd like to use any of these systems and get hands-on with them, we're happy to host you afterwards. I think during the frequency coordination piece, I think we'll bring the big brains into the other room to have a radio sidebar, and anybody who wants to play with the audio-visual systems, we're happy to stay for as long as you like. And of course, this facility is here for you. So anytime you'd like to come in or bring your team or go into a deep dive or bring any of your systems or bring us out to you, we are always happy to do that. We learn every single time we visit with your teams. So to recap, this is more than just a better, less injurious, better ergonomic solution. This is a system about more advanced collaboration. Every system is now abstracted from the desk. Every computer that you normally would expect to live on that desk, it doesn't have to. It can be on this desk. It can be on this desk. You can have a 60 position PSAP like San Francisco, and every single system can view some or all of the same resources. Sometimes that can be advantageous for a variety of software procurement reasons too, right? We've had folks who want to do front of room video wall, but they have ceilings like ours. I mean, if you look at this desk here and you're looking over the top and you're saying, well, I can't see the bottom half of that video wall. That's a real consideration. So sometimes it's not about having a big screen. Sometimes it's about building a better workflow at the desk, or sometimes the screen is for a supervisory layer, and sometimes there's a supervisory layer that's not in the room. And that's where we get into our latest generation of solution, which is a portable system with a gateway, a bonded multi-SIM wireless gateway, which is what you have on this table over here. This is the IPX Flyaway Kit. It's the first of its kind in that it is a video wall processor workflow in a 37-pound TSA compliant case. You can put this in your overhead. You can go into any room or any vehicle with a tethered display. That display that I have right here adjacent to the IPX Flyaway kit, that display is being driven by the IPX Flyaway kit. The IPX Flyaway kit also has a gateway. It has a Degero gateway, so you can run your Verizon priority services and your AT&T FirstNet, and you can even have an external cow, or you can have an external system from. I looked over at Mandy from Elk Grove because they've taught me an awful lot about the vehicle-based systems for connecting into SATCOMs and to P25 to set up those systems. They do amazing work at Elk Grove. We're looking forward to their presentation in just a bit as well. But that's a perfect example of how you can leverage your existing systems for communications and tether them into a platform that's designed to add a layer of visualization. So anything that you have at your 911 desk is available to every desk. And anything that you have at any desk or every desk is available to your front of room or your supervisory positions or your portable systems. And these portable systems solve the network problem. What do I do if I have, if I'm city PD and I have county fire, I have Cal OES, maybe FEMA's there, and they're all bringing different resources that are valuable to a large-scale incident. It's not an easy answer from an IT perspective. We all crowd around some laptops. This system will allow me to push my video wall from any operations center that is sharing that network. But then when I want to let other agencies or other participants contribute to that common operating picture, they can plug in, and that is air-gapped. They're not on that network. They're just plugging in as video. So just like I plugged in my computer, and now I'm on this video wall, and I can combine this PowerPoint with other resources. That's a video wall workflow. Very difficult to do that in an IT environment. Very easy to do that with very specific niche audio-visual tools. So these are the systems that RGB works for. We build systems for the desk. We build systems with very specialized displays. We can use your displays. We're pretty agnostic. We'll come in and we will design a system. Any on my team, any on my extended rep team will come and spend time with you. Any on my integrator partners will spend time with you and work with you to understand your needs and which RGB tool set is the right one to solve these IT problems and to extend the usefulness of your expertise. Extend that to the captain's quarters, to the conference room, to the training facility. So it's a nice option because it also plays into so many different facets of your workflow. We can also use different aspects of your budget, and so you can come together and bring in, because we touch so many things. If you're doing a CAD upgrade, or you're doing radio upgrade, or you're doing a new 911 system, maybe you're doing NG 911. If you're doing anything along those lines, we are part of that system, right? We're what makes that system ergonomic, and we're the display portion of that system, the training system, the facilities, the front of room, AV, security, surveillance, right? Access control. We're part of all of these systems. We touch them all, and we can extend them to any user who needs to either see them or control them or both. We can bring them into a common operating picture and create a dashboard, and then we can take that big screen dashboard and send it very, very bandwidth efficiently. We can composite it here and send it as a multi-resource layout to your mobile phone. You ever tried to open up 2 YouTube videos on your mobile phone? That doesn't work. But I can take 2 YouTube videos and I can combine them here and encode that and send that to your mobile phone, and then that will show those 2 videos or 4 videos or 10 videos. And it doesn't matter what, that the device is limited. I'm doing the heavy lifting upstream. We call that upstream compositing. Again, these are audio-visual solutions to IT problems, right? And you guys have a lot of IT problems. And some of the fixes there are a little different, but rest assured we have a mature community of partners and installers who can assist you in designing the solution and implementing that solution. And now that we have our new line of flyaway kits and our upcoming, we have a two-person carry, a larger version. It's a complete operations center in a small 5RU rack. It's the big brother or the big sister to the IPX Flyway kit. That system solves another problem that some of our vehicle upfitter partners have identified, which is the challenge of maintaining all of these computers in a mobile EOC. You have to fire up the system, you have to go out to the parking lot, you have to go and get into the vehicle, you have to go and upgrade all of these systems. What if you just took that whole workflow out of the vehicle and brought it inside and just kept it there? You could have 2 or 3 of them. One of them goes into the MEOC, and one goes into the lieutenant's vehicle, right? So it can go where you need it to go in order to turn up an operations center where you need it, and that operations center can see everything that you have now, all the desks that we've done, and the video walls that we've done across different workflows. All of these things become additive to create more resources that are available to extend the usefulness of your expertise and your applications. I think I tend to run long here, and I know I went off my presentation a bit, but I thought maybe it'd be more interesting just to riff with you here and kind of tell you what I see and what I've learned from you, right? So with that, I'm gonna hand it back to Carl to introduce our featured speaker.
Are there any questions for Dan?
Thank you.
Dan, will you be doing a demo later if anyone wants to
100%.
take a tour?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, very good. So we do have some networking time left. So we'll reconvene. You guys ready to go at 11? All right, very good. So we'll take a networking break. We'll resume a couple minutes before 11 and learn all about real-time policing and the overlap with 911. Thank you. Good question. Let me check. time for our keynote presentation. As promised, it'll be a
Your voice. The mic is fine.
okay. All right, time for the keynote presentation. As promised, this will be a panel presentation with representatives from Elk Grove, Citrus Heights, and Vacaville. They're going to cover real-time policing and the overlap with 911. So with that, we'll turn it over to them. Thank you guys very much for being here today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Can everybody hear me okay? Because my mic's a little bit further.
You sound gorgeous.
Okay, good. Good. Well, good morning. Yeah, we're still morning. My name is Andrea Cortez. I'm the Real-Time Information Center Manager for the Elk Grove Police Department. I've been in that role for just under a year. We'll have the year anniversary in June. I entered the real-time space. Yes, thank you. I entered the real-time space in 2021 on a temporary duty assignment. My predecessor, and there was Jamie Hudson. Maybe some of you are familiar with him. He was very well known in the dispatch space. But that's been my journey into real-time. I have about 17 years of law enforcement experience, and we're excited to share these topics and concepts with you all. And so this will be a very fluid and kind of organic conversation that we have up here, and we'll definitely have time for Q&A at the end. So once we reach that time, please feel free. We would like this to be as interactive as possible. And then I also wanted to say thank you. Thank you to the APCO. Thank you to Carl and the board for having us here today. Thank you to Dan Marcus with RGB Spectrum for having us. Elk Grove's been a customer of RGB Spectrum since the beginning, and we've had some really great solutions with them. So with that,
Good morning. I'm Chella Cottrell, and as I said at the beginning, I'm one of the police service managers at the City of Citrus Heights. I've been in the role for a little over 2 years now. I've been at the agency for just shy of 15 years, and I've been in law enforcement for about 21. The majority of my career has been in the comm center. I started at a one-seat center in Santa Cruz County, and if you've ever worked for a one-seat center, you get very adept at figuring out how to solve your own problems because there's no one else to ask, right? And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to present with these ladies today. Nikki and I have been partners for a very long time. We worked at Citrus Heights together for about 13 years? 13 years before she made the leap to Vacaville and started her new role.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Nikki Bell. I have been with the Vacaville Police Department I just celebrated my 1 year, so it'll be harder to get rid of me. But it was a new role for me. They were looking for a unicorn. They had to settle for a pony. But bottom line is that you're hearing a lot. I'm sure you're hearing a lot about real-time information centers, right? And because they're new, they're trying to find what the right person is to walk into a real-time information center. And so a year ago, I applied for this position at Vacaville, leaving my beloved dispatch profession, which I think I've had 22-ish years in that profession, and moved into this real-time space. And I'm very passionate about this collaboration because our journey, we're finding a lot of overlapping experiences in dispatch centers and in the real-time space, and we feel that it's really important to share our story with everyone. So thank you, Dan and APCO, for letting us share this, because I think you're going to find as you're selling technology to a real-time center or to dispatch, you'll be able to capitalize on the fact that there is overlapping technology, and you really should be embracing the leadership in both of those units, because it's going to be a win for everyone, and perhaps a win for what you're selling, but definitely a win internally within the organizations as well. So.
all right, I think maybe we'll
You want to trade?
Yeah, maybe we'll just swap spots so we don't have to get up. So with that, we're going to just kind of assess the knowledge in the room as far as rate your familiarity with real-time centers. So there'll be some different, if you can just, you should be able to just QR code this survey. And if you don't, then there will be no responses, and then we'll just do it out loud. But once you QR code it, there'll be some options there from yes, very familiar, to yeah, I've heard of them, never seen one, to not very familiar at all. So in the policing world, we're hearing a lot about real-time centers and real-time policing and what that means. And the Elk Grove Center has been operational since June of 2019. So we're almost about 6 years operational, and in that time, I will tell you, we're still figuring it out. I mean, it's not a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter solution. Each real-time center will look a little bit different, and it's really dependent upon the city demographics, the needs of the organization, and how to best serve the community. So as we go through these different concepts and topics, just keep that in mind, that you will probably be able to take pieces of this and apply them either to your centers, or you will or if you're a vendor in the room, then you will be able to apply pieces as you are talking with those different stakeholders in the organization. So it looks like most are slightly familiar, like Bigfoot, heard about it, but I've never seen one. So that's great. You have the right folks in the room to tell you about what a real-time center is. Nikki, do you want to start off a little bit about where you are in your real-time center journey with your organization?
So the Vacaville Police Department wanted or conceptually thought of implementing or integrating a real-time information center a couple of years ago. And so I was hired on to lead that effort, build it conceptually and physically. And so I'm happy to report that we're almost done with construction. That's been a bit of a three-headed monster. But also we had to hire and build a team, redesign job specifications, work with a design company who has built real-time information centers before, because never before in my dispatch experience did I design and build and write contracts for vendors. So we will actually have our video wall installed. I'm sorry, it's not RGB, but our video wall will actually be installed April 28th, and then we'll repopulate that area shortly thereafter. So we're very excited. And ironically, and not ironically now, maybe even it was by design, but we are right next door to dispatch. And there are several benefits with that. And we've already gone live with our Arctic, even though that the Arctic space is not built, because our drone first responder program went live 3 weeks ago. I did have a couple weeks of heart palpitations because flying in a shared airspace with airplanes was challenging, but we're good. But anyway, so we are working out of the dispatch center until our Arctic space is built. And that was very, very intentional, so that we could work out the kinks of how do we integrate on the radio system with our field units and with our dispatch partners who have been doing some real-time pieces, right? Tracking vehicles through Flock or ALPR systems, or monitoring video management systems, or checking different intelligence databases for wanted people. And so we did that so that we could very carefully take away some of those responsibilities, or figure out how do we share those responsibilities where we're not stealing that work from them if they want to do it, but we're supplementing it and augmenting it to those in the field.
So Citrus Heights does not have their own real-time information center. So you may say, why are you on this panel and what are you bringing to this conversation? This relationship between the three of us is really unique, because what we have instead is a regional Arctic that Elk Grove hosts. And one of my dispatchers, who was one of our dispatchers at the time, we allowed him to go down as a task force member and work out of Elk Grove's Arctic on behalf of the Citrus Heights Police Department. So one of the things that I really want folks to understand is that your investment in a real-time center can be scalable. What can your agency do? Don't feel like you have to build a $5 million Arctic in order to have real-time intelligence. You can do real-time intelligence from a laptop with really great software systems. You can do it with a portable radio. As long as you've got good network connectivity, you could probably do some real-time work that's of value to the operations that you're fielding. I'm going to just touch briefly on a culture piece and why kind of there's some friction with some dispatch managers when it comes to real time, because there's fear, right? Dispatch has been understaffed for so long that a lot of dispatch managers come to real time centers from a culture of scarcity. And we just think we want to do this with our people, right? We want to keep our people, we want to keep them in the comm center. And the worst thing that could happen is we let them explore other options, fall in love with it, and want to stay somewhere else, right? And so when we were looking at building this partnership with Elk Grove, we really had some pushback at the beginning from administration saying, you guys are already understaffed. What makes you think this is a good idea to let one of your dispatchers deploy on a task force in an Arctic capacity? And we chose instead to adopt a culture of plenty and believe that why would we hold our team members back if they have the aptitude and the skill to be of value to the organization? Because those who want to serve are going to find an ability to serve, and we would have lost that employee to a different opportunity, right? So it benefited us to keep him under our Citrus Heights umbrella, allow him to deploy in this capacity, and I am telling you folks, our solvability rates have skyrocketed since this partnership has happened. So it's a benefit to the organization, it's a benefit to the caseload, it's a benefit to our communities that we serve, because we're not having so much unsolved victimization, right? So don't let fear-based decision-making hold you back. Don't make fear-based decision-making of your people, of what you're able to put forward financially, stop you from moving your organizations forward.
Yeah, very well said, Chella. And I will tell you that as somebody who was, and I was a specialist at the time that we welcomed in our Citrus Heights partners, and it was fantastic to have somebody else in the room that was within the same county that had access to different systems that I did not have access to. We'll get a little bit more into the operations side of things as far as the real-time center component. But it was so nice to have that immediate information available to us when we have a stolen vehicle that comes into our area from their area. They have access to the case report to have information. We had one particular case where there was information regarding a firearm that was present in the report and not in the initial hit. And so having that readily available was invaluable. And we still greatly value our partnership with Citrus Heights, and we also have a partnership with Galt Police Department. And so just as we move forward in this presentation, I think the real key to success in this new space is being innovative, not taking traditional approaches. There's still value in those approaches, certainly, but this is a new space and we need to explore and do trial programs to see what works and what can be of value. And we did in Elk Grove, while I wasn't in the manager role at that time, I know there was a little bit of questioning from even our internal stakeholders as to why did we need to have somebody else from an outside agency embedded in here taking up a console and space and having logins and things like all this work that was going to have to come from this partnership. Why was that necessary? And we were able to articulate and then prove the concept, right? It starts off as a trial, and then you prove the value, and then you can go into making it a more permanent solution. And so this is just a general question. This will be a word cloud, so as you guys put information in here, it'll kind of populate. This is our way to make this fun and interactive. But what is the purpose of a real-time center, or what do you believe to be the purpose of a real-time center, since some of you maybe aren't familiar? This will kind of give us an idea of the knowledge in the room and what the understanding is. And feel free to have some fun with it. 0 responses so far. Maybe we're contemplating.
There are no wrong answers.
That's right.
Just throw it out there.
She's the nice one. There are wrong answers.
Oh, I'm sorry. And if if this slows us down too much, we can just have, people, we can do it the old-fashioned way and we can just talk.
Yes, in the back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So from the back, he said that it helps solve crime, helps to solve crime.
And that is definitely one component of it. We definitely support patrol resources in real time to allow them to make better decisions and for them to have a better understanding of the situation they're going into, to enhance that situational awareness.
And what I say high level oftentimes, just like this canned message that I always say when we talk about real-time information centers, is high level, we're leveraging technology for public safety. So that seems to work really well because while we are from law enforcement organizations, our dispatch center, at least for the agency I work with, dispatches fire and EMS as well. And so we really are trying to build that relationship with our fire department. We've been reaching out to our local OES representatives because we would love to regionalize with them as well, especially when we have some sort of fire or natural disaster in our area, which happens, it seems like every year now. So when you talk about regionalization, it's also partnership as well. So Arctic's leveraging technology for public safety, but then also just regionalizing with anyone for the sake of a response to a call quicker and faster and safer. And let's look at these responses here.
Yeah.
Thank you for the brave person that said, I don't know. I actually really appreciate that answer because it helps us to understand how important it is for us to continue to talk about this. And, you know, when Dre was talking about when they first started, there was kind of some pushback and some modeling, and then they would toss out that model and try something different. And that's why personalities like Nikki's and Dre's are so critical for a real-time center manager, because there are those of us who are a little bit more conservative in their decision making and feel a lot of grief when a model doesn't work out, right? We take it personally. We really want to stick to the foundation that we started with and keep trying the same thing over and over, even though it didn't work. In the real-time center, they have to be able to be adaptable enough to say, we thought this was going to work and it didn't. So I'm going to throw it out and I'm going to start over, and then not be apologetic about it. So that's a lot of the real-time center too. We talk about that adaptability is you have to be brave and bold and say, hey, I don't know, but I'm going to try this out. And, you know, we've had really good conversations about when people come to us and say, hey, did you choose the right product? Did you choose the best one out there? And sometimes our answer is, we don't know, but we did the best job we could with the information we had at the time.
Do you want to touch a little bit back so we can help the I don't know and answer that? Yeah.
So I think what the main supporting field operations is certainly the foundation of what we do in the real-time center. As I mentioned earlier, every real-time center looks a little bit different depending on the city and the demographic and the population they serve. In Elk Grove, our center has 4 main components. It's operations, which is what you probably all kind of picture, and I'll walk through an example that really highlights that. So we have operations, we have communications, and when I say communications, especially to this group, I don't necessarily mean radio communications. I mean communications internally as far as intelligence briefs, safety bulletins that we share with our city partners, training bulletins. And so what the early stakeholders had in mind, which was now in hindsight really genius, but initially people were like, I don't really know if there's a need for that, is they wanted the real-time information center to be an information hub, and things would be vetted through there. As far as no longer do we see a 6-paragraph email from a certain person within the department. That can now be filtered through the real-time center. We pare it down. We have a branding, and we've got it down to a science as far as where we highlight the really key takeaways. We apply a map or some pictures or what's ever appropriate, and then that is disseminated. And so we found that the communication piece was actually really vital. So we have operations, communications, intelligence, and then analysis. So we have analysts within our center as well that can support from an intelligence aspect if we have a critical incident. They do some deep digging as far as our specialists do kind of the real quick data mining, and if we need to take it down a little bit deeper on a case we're working, they can take it from there. So that's what Elk Grove focuses on, and I'm sure that Nikki's and even Citrus Heights area scopes will look a little bit different.
Yeah, we're honestly, Elk Grove has been a really great, I'm sure they're tired of me, but they've really been, we have very similar demographics, very similar setup in our city, similar natural disaster concerns. Well, yours are floods, minor fires,
That's
but
right.
very, very similar in that we have natural disasters. The crime rate is very similar. And so when we talk about deployment, I mean, sure, we want case solvability. We want to respond with appropriate assets to calls for service. Having the drone first responder to give us some aerial observations. We want all of that for law enforcement, but we also need to think creatively, because we are not a higher crime area. How do we utilize an ARTIC or real-time information or RTAC or whatever it is that you want to call it? How do you leverage that in the most efficient way in your organization for success for everyone? And so we're also doing gun bulletins. We're also doing informational shares. We're like the internal messaging hub of the organization, and that is proving very successful. I think you guys can all relate that there is an overabundance of emails and information just being thrown at us coming from multiple different platforms, and it gets to be a little much. And so if an ARTIC can help that need and make things where they're more digestible and where people are actually receiving critical information in a tangible manner, then let's do that. So we're mimicking a lot of what Elk Grove has already done, so thank you for that.
So since this is a group that it looks like the majority haven't actually been inside of an ARTIC, are we familiar with the term drone as first responder? Does that mean anything to all of you folks? I'm getting a mixed group. So just briefly, Citrus Heights has a really robust UAS program, right? We will respond to a call for service, and an officer can fly a drone, or a professional staff member can fly a drone to get a good aerial view looking for a suspect, or, you know, help with a perimeter or something like that. Drone as first responder is something that Elk Grove and Vacaville is doing, where they're putting a drone up and their pilots are flying from the station or from a remote area and getting there prior to a patrol response. And would you like to share your reduction in calls for service there?
Yeah, well, we are clearing approximately 20% of our calls. So a drone as a first responder can clear the call. Sometimes that does, so the pilots typically, they can be a mix of, we have a hybrid model of pilots, so we do have some sworn officers that serve as pilots, and then we also have civilians that serve as pilots. They have their Part 107. Some of them are our operators and specialists that are embedded in the real-time center.
And dispatchers, right?
And
Do you have dispatcher?
we do have some
Yeah,
dispatchers
so we do
going
too.
through the program to get their Part 107. And so the idea with drone as a first responder is it's not intended to stay on scene for an extended amount of time. So if there's going to be a more tactical situation developing, that will be a field deployment. So one of our officers that has the drone in the trunk of their car can deploy that drone. Or if they need to do an interior drone, that looks completely different. But the idea is drone as a first responder is to just get the first set of eyes to see what's actually taking place and to relay that information to responding units. And we have a really great example of that, of how we kind of used all the components, and I think it'll help kind of fill in the gaps of what real-time center or real-time policing operations look like. We have a call for service that comes out at the ULTA, and there is a theft in progress. This individual is taking an abundant amount of fragrances and just not even trying to be really discreet about it, and he has a big puffer jacket on, and he's just putting fragrances in. The reporting party at ULTA gives a pretty good vehicle description. We know it's a white BMW, and she's able to provide a partial plate. We have Live 911 that comes into the center, and so our operators are able to hear this in real time. So we're not waiting for dispatch to enter this. We're hearing this as it comes into the center. Our specialists and operators immediately start queuing up cameras. Our embedded pilot is now launching the drone. We call this kind of like a choreographed dance, right? Everybody's doing something. There's a lot of communication that takes place within the room as far as what each person is doing. So now the car is mobile. Our specialists are running queries into our ALPR system to try to find that full plate. They do end up locating a full plate within probably 35 seconds-ish to a minute. Then another operator is pulling up intersection cameras, and it just so happened in this shopping center we have a really great intersection camera that captures the direction of travel that the suspect happened to be going. And so we were able to provide an update. Initially it's preliminary, we couldn't confirm the plate just based on how they were stacked in the lane. They continued to travel southbound. We pick them up at our next intersection camera, and now we're pretty sure that they're going to go to the Sephora, right? Because they typically kind of hit more than one location and then they'll be on their way on the freeway. So now drone as a first responder is getting overhead. And so what's fantastic about that is our fixed assets, we would have been out of play traditionally prior to drone as a first responder because we're limited as far as these are intersection cameras within a main thoroughfare, and we don't have a visual into the interior parking lots. So drone as a first responder is now overhead. They're able to pick up the vehicle. We were able to confirm the plate at the second intersection. Drone as a first responder is now following the vehicle. We're able to update exactly where the vehicle's parked. We confirm the suspect description. We provide updates where the suspect's walking. He's now walking into the Sephora. Our units are responding. They stage appropriately based on the information they have. We maintain visual with the drone, and then he exits the store. Our officers see him. A foot chase ensues. And as he's running, we can see on the drone that property is falling out of his jacket, right? Because he's just tight, and he was pretty fast. We actually have this on our social media page if you want to check it out. You see him run. He is eventually he's cut off by another unit, and they in effect an arrest. But that just really highlights all the moving pieces that happened, right? We had an operator or specialist that found the full plate. We were able to confirm the plate, so we knew we were dealing with the right individual. Then we had our mobile asset take over after our fixed assets were out of play. We were able to relay all of that to our officers who were responding and just give them a really full picture so they can be so precise now exactly. They know what they're dealing with. And that's truly the goal of real-time policing, is to provide as much relevant information as we can as possible to responding units. We don't want to overload them with just a bunch of information that's not really pertinent to what they're doing right then. So that was a great case that kind of highlights the entire, all the different roles within the center.
Is that what your video is?
No, that video's not in here.
Oh.
Maybe the next presentation, we'll get that one in there. Let's see what's next. So this is maximizing efficiency, kind of what we've been talking about, utilizing technology to improve processes and identify overlap.
So I think, you know, Andrea just highlighted a great call for service where the Arctic really played a vital role. But something to keep in mind is that before all of that maybe extravagant technology was in their real-time information center, dispatchers often would do this like similar data mining, and they would pull up their video cameras and they would try to see as much information as they possibly could, and they didn't have those resources. But when we're talking about a dispatch Arctic relationship, we're finding that, and the hunters, recently a prior colleague of mine, but still a current colleague of Chella's, was talking about if you have a hunter mindset, which is something we're looking for in dispatch in the Arctic always, but you will be trying to beat the field units to the information that they want in the field. Like it's like a competition.
We're not competitive at all.
Yeah, with each other, with the field units, like I'm going to get that. So anyway, before there were Arctics, this is what dispatchers were doing, and this is what they still do every day. Their resources or their tools might look a little different, but they also might be your agency's after hours Arctic operators, right? And so we're gonna highlight that later, but this is really why it's important for those selling databases or equipment, or those who are dispatchers or managers of Arctic or comm centers, to realize this, knowing these relationships and in this overlap, it behooves you to have that knowledge. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about that piece.
And just one other final thought, so Andrea talked about the Live 911 feed, and we recently got Live 911 at Citrus Heights, and the initial reaction, of course, is that of fear, right? The dispatcher's like, I do not want the officers coming in here and telling me how to do my job. I don't want them critiquing my work. I don't want them telling me to do something differently. And so it's just that like fear-based reaction, right? What we've seen instead, and what I think Elk Grove will share, and I know that Vacaville is going to get there, is what we're seeing instead is a new understanding of people's work, right? So the very first person I had testing it, he was a impact detective. He's a street crimes detective. And so he was driving around the city listening to the Live 911 as he went about his day. And he came back and he said, I had no idea how many non-emergency calls your team was fielding and clearing, and then we never even knew about them, right? So if you look at your standard calls for service that go into your dispatch center, I would submit that the calls for service that are generated that officers respond to are about half, or maybe a little bit more than half. And so your dispatchers triage quite a bit of those. But back to the presentation piece, giving that holistic view, having that situational awareness when officers respond to a call for service, if they can hear the incoming Live 911 information, get the visual from drone as first responder on their screen so they know what they're approaching, your officer safety is going to continue to improve. And that's all of our goal at the end of the day, is not just to solve crime, but to keep everybody safe and ready to go home at the end of their shift.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get into we're going to talk about the technology, and then we're going to talk about the relationships and how both are just so important. I like to say that the real-time center and all the technology, it's fantastic, right? I mean, we are in a cutting-edge age of technology where it's changing the way we do policing. It is the vehicle in which we're able to solve crime, but it's the driver that really gets us across the finish line, and the driver is your staffing, and it's your relationships with your stakeholders internally. And so now we can get into the tech piece a little bit. But when I was talking about that situation where we had DFR overhead maintaining a visual, we were able to share that with our dispatch team through RGB. And so we are connected as well to just as Vacaville, right on the other side of our wall is the comm center. And so I would not want that any other way. We need to be closely connected with our dispatch team. We do work hand in hand, just like we do with our patrol team, hand in hand every day, and that relationship and that the ability to work in tandem is very important. And so it's very nice to just be able to go across the hall if we need to say something that maybe we don't need to say on radio. We'll talk about debriefing and things like that when we get into the relationship side of things. But it's really, and the dispatch team initially, I have my communications manager in the room, and I think it's a work in progress as far as these new concepts, right? Ooh, do I really want to see a drone feed while I'm dispatching and trying to do 27 other things, right? What is that going to feel like? And so we've just kind of continued to have good conversations, good meetings, productive meetings regarding workflows, but we were able to share that feed with dispatch, so they were well aware. They didn't just have to picture what was taking place. They were well aware, and sometimes, depending on the situation, real-time will not put out radio traffic. Dispatch is much more better suited to put out radio traffic than we are, as far as this is what they do every day, and they do it all day. So that has been something that we're able to minimize radio traffic, and they're able to see what's taking place, depending on the call for service. It's not always that way, but just depends.
So just to cover some of the Arctic specific technologies that also serve the comm center or 911 dispatchers is data aggregation platforms, Peregrine, Force Metrics, I think Flock has Nova now, but anything where you're bringing disparate systems together, think of it like a Google search of the programs that you integrated into that platform. So you can search your name, John Smith, date of birth 1/1 of 2000, because everyone's younger than me nowadays. You can search them. You can search open source. You can search your internal CAD data. You can search cameras. If it was a license plate, you can search, not DOJ yet, but we're working on that. But you can search like evidence.com for any body-worn camera footage and involving that person. Addresses, you can search addresses and then get all of the prior calls for service, every person that lives at that house that has a bill sent there. I mean, it's insane. So as you can see from just that explanation, data aggregation serves not only a real-time information center, but there's great value to dispatch having that as well. Integrating mapping platforms. I mean, again, we talked about this earlier, but there's so much technology and so much information coming to people in different ways. So if you can integrate those databases, including mapping platforms, it's a huge benefit because you're just making that real-time information more digestible to everyone. And so, for example, what we've brought over into our operating system is CAD information, so we can see all the calls for service in there. Also vehicle information, so GPS vehicle information, body-worn camera GPS location, cameras in relation to calls for service, so you can see all your resources in one map, and that's invaluable when you're responding to an in-progress emergency, right? We all are putting more and more cameras up in our jurisdictions. I mean, there's very few that I think are not doing that. So when you have that much data that you need to process in a timely manner, because we only have so many humans, there's now video data analytics programs. BriefCam is just one that comes to mind, but you can actually search your footage in a very granular manner, and it's it's a lifesaver, and it's worth its weight in gold. So, and dispatch would love that. So if you're not open, your Arctic is not open, make them your secondary users in your agency so that they can have access to that data when you're sleeping. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We found that any technology that initiates from real time, so First Two, Peregrine, those are a few that have came from, BriefCam is also one, that start within the Arctic, that we always want to see who else is this of value to, because these systems are pricey, and we want to see how we can leverage them across the board, not just for real-time operations, but how can this be used from an investigative component? How can our dispatchers, is there value in this for them? And First Two is one of those. It's an intelligence-based platform. It scrapes publicly available data, and initially, I think the thought was, maybe one more system to log into, but then we found that because you can run based on address, phone number, or name, we found that our dispatch team actually really liked that. And so we continue to provide trainings and make sure that they are really comfortable to use the system. But that's something, we took that and then we wanted to replicate it across the board for all of our systems, because why keep, we don't want to restrict the tech. We want to make it as accessible when appropriate as possible. And we found that our dispatch team absolutely uses those systems.
And really what we're talking about is breaking down silos, right? And so whether you're private sector and you're in sales or if you're in public sector, oftentimes we end up really becoming myopic about the thing that we do and we do well. And when we're opening up those silos and saying, hey, this is how I'm using this product, I'm not exactly sure how you would use it, but this is how it works. That person in their subject matter expert realm is going to be able to identify the use case for it, right? So even if you do not know how that person is going to use the tech, just present it and as open source and see what they're going to do and run with it. And you'll be surprised at how creative folks can be.
ROI, right? ROI, return on investment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
ROI.
So ROI is what I call it, return on investment. But basically, you all have to explain the need to keep or acquire technology. So if you're serving multiple units, it's probably gonna win, right? Okay.
So one unique thing about, I don't know if it's unique, it's just a different facet actually, is that we, in Elk Grove, our real-time center is staffed by not civilian staff. So there are no police officers working within our center unless they are the DFR pilot for that day. Outside of that, it is staffed by all civilians. And so one of the things that came into play as far as with drone as a first responder is the concern that, do we need an incident commander to have eyes on a situation now that we have this mobile asset that can potentially capture things that we've historically not seen because we've worked with fixed assets. So technology has now allowed us, through integration, has allowed us to be able to access and quickly share information. And so what you'll see here, this is Flock OS, and this is our drone, the drone icon. And so through this operating system, we're able to share the drone feed in real time. And so if an incident commander needs to have eyes on a situation, typically they're already logged into the system, they can just go to the drone icon, and now we have potentially 20 sets of eyes on a given incident. But most importantly is the watch commander. So the ability to have that information and those feeds readily available. We're not having to send an email with a link and type it all out and get it sent over. We make it accessible to them, and this has been really valuable. And I think, Nikki, you have the
Yeah, I just want to add to this for our fire friends that are in the room. I think there's a small corner of you over there. Because our dispatchers dispatch for fire and medical, we're working with our DFR vendor to figure out how we can get these links to you when we're responding to, let's say, a mass casualty incident, a major traffic collision, a fire, or a hazard maybe that wouldn't be safe for you guys to send your units into. How can we help share our DFR program with you and get you the spectator link? And I know that our vendor is working through that, because you might not want to see all law stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And the law people might not want you to see that, or it might just need to know right to know. But if there's a call where we're going to together, which is a lot of the calls, right? How can we share the spectator link with you responsibly and in real time? So we're working on that as well. So. This one, this one's you.
This one's
so me. So dispatch in real time. So, I think our core identity as dispatchers, how many times you just hear us described as 911, right? Mm-hmm. 911 is such a core piece of our identity, because that's really what separates us from other call centers, right? We're not a dental insurance call center. We answer the phone when people are having a life and death situation. And yet, we are evolving. And there's so much more that happens in emergency communication center beyond 911. Mm-hmm. And I've actually started pivoting the language that we use at my agency from calling us dispatch to calling us communications, because of these real-time factors and because of the other types of work that we're doing, right? So it's just becoming a little bit more layered. So Prepared is a company that is going, some of us have demoed it, some of us are in beta testing with it, but it offers video to 911, which is going to be very interesting to our fire friends, because if you can get your eyes on a scene and really understand the rate of speed on your fire, or if you're going to see, how many ambulances do I need to send to, how many victims do I have in that crash, your reliance on a vocal response from a reporting party who, depending on their availability to remain calm under pressure, like their information may be so-so, right? But if we're getting live video of what it is that they're seeing at the time of the 911 call, we're going to be able to make a determination about what type of response we need and what kind of apparatus. So that's one of the things that they offer, amongst other things, such as transcription and translation in real time. And then, earlier we talked about the vertical Z-axis that's coming with 911. We're still talking about, is that from the ocean floor? Is that from the earth crust? Like, there's still some work to do with that, but it is getting better. And the more we can do with this type of technology, the more we're going to be able to feed this information out to our responders and to our real-time information centers to pinpoint folks.
If I can just add why prepared is beneficial for the Arctic. So when you have a drone first responder, or when you even just have field units that you're feeding data to, if dispatch hasn't yet been able to create a call for service because they have an irate caller, an erratic, uncontrollable caller, excited, whatnot, we can start deploying the drone. We can get it in the air and start launching it to the caller's GPS location before dispatch has even been able to enter a call for service. So it's where that seconds save lives, right? So this is part of that idea here. So the overlapping use in that technology, whether it be Rapid SOS, who's a competitor of Prepared, or Prepared, they both have a live 911 feature, or Rapid SOS is coming this summer, I guess, but they have that live 911 feature we were talking about, where it's that audible 911, where you can send that to wherever, whether it's your Arctic or your field units. But just getting people in that headspace, or even physically starting to a call for service before dispatch has been able to create the call for service is invaluable. So, and then just to talk about, sorry,
Yep.
because I'm a blabber. But some other things that dispatch has, their loggers. So obviously we like to access recording data sometimes. They also have, we're working off of portable radios. I'm trying to get us a consulate and dispatch, in the Arctic, but they have a lot of ECATs for 911 data analytics. Like, that information is important in a real-time information center as well. So just realize that if you're in the Arctic or in dispatch, that there's overlapping technology, and work with your comm managers so you can share that technology. The kumbaya. Yeah. So one thing that Andre and I do want to share with you guys is we along with two other Arctic managers in the state of California, have created a California Arctic work group. If you're interested in joining, our emails will be up there later, but I think we have 175 folks now. We meet monthly, the third Thursday of every month. It's all over Zoom. But we are hearing a lot of hardships from our sworn lieutenant partners and their relationships with dispatch managers or just dispatch staff as a whole, because they don't know how to deal with us. We're kind of we're unique, right? So, but harness dispatch, harness their skill set, harness their technology, and you're gonna see that they're more alike than they are not, right? So.
Yeah. And they honestly just involve folks in the conversation, right? Like, nobody likes having work either just put on their table with no explanation and limited training, and no one likes to have something they're passionate about taken away with no explanation, right? So, and I think that's the push, pull, and the rub that folks are seeing with integration with real time, is that some things are being taken away, quote unquote, from dispatch, or being put onto dispatch without warning. So please don't do that to anybody, regardless of their work group. Just involve folks early in those conversations. Your IT team are your best friends. Mm-hmm. Bring IT to the table before you buy any tech, okay? Because it may not be compatible. It may not be super great for whatever network you're running on. So really be thoughtful when you're doing anything with tech about who needs to be involved in the conversation early and often, instead of surprising people.
Yes, I would agree with that. And that's something that when I moved into the manager role, this was already happening, but I definitely make sure that our IT folks are at the table anytime we have a demo or anything like that, because they just have such a greater understanding of the current infrastructure that we have at Elk Grove that I'm not completely aware of. I only know my kind of area. I don't know what exists beyond that in the way that they do. So bringing in stakeholders is absolutely important. And one of those stakeholders for real time is definitely dispatch. And I leaned heavily, and I still lean heavily, so thank you, Mandy, on our dispatch team as far as understanding the workflows and what's working. it's an ongoing process as far as the types of situations we encounter. And so it's important to bring in a representative from dispatch if we're talking about a new situation that's developed or a particular call for service that was handled a particular way. When I moved into the real-time center, I had 2 folks that were in there with me, and they were both prior dispatchers. And they were the radio traffic was nothing new to them. Me coming in, I came from the records department. I was a supervisor there for 6 years. I had been there a total of 10 years, and then prior to that, I was with Sacramento County Probation working in juvenile hall. So I was not familiar. And in juvenile hall, we were on the radio a little bit, but in a much different capacity. And so whenever I came into real time, I had a brief moment with my trainer, probably about 90 days or so, and then she moved on to another career path. And so then I had to lean on dispatch because then it was just myself and the manager's busy working, doing contracts and a bunch of other administrative things. And so when I would work a call for service, fumble my way through that, putting out God knows what on the radio, I would go into dispatch and like, how was that? And I know you don't really have time right now, but when you can, please help me out. And they were so gracious, and they were actually able to really give me great insight and feedback. And I continued to do that. And then I would also find a dispatcher that I really liked the cadence and how they put out information, so then I would just start to mimic that. And so my journey is probably a little bit different than what most folks who find themselves working in real time will look like. But I immediately saw the value in dispatch and understanding their position and understanding what was important to them. And we still, Mandy invites me to the meetings, and I appreciate that when they have their supervisors meetings, so we can kind of debrief things, any issues that are coming up. And it's that constant communication that's really important. And then within the real-time center, we have set a tone that we absolutely respect our dispatch partners, and we recognize the important work they do. And so that relationship is really important. And I don't know that I think it's always my goal to highlight that, because I don't want it to be overlooked, because it is so crucial to how we can get things done really effectively. Oh, I'm sorry.
They want you to be everywhere.
Yeah, sorry about that. I thought I shut my teams down, but okay.
I think.
And we done on this one?
You want to start?
That's a lot, right?
Right.
That's a lot. And I don't even think
Speaks for
that's
itself.
all. Yeah, I think it speaks. I just look at that and I'm like, so there's just a lot of overlapping systems. So if you look down the middle, you can see, so basically, let me just back up. The 3 of us put together a very rough list of the systems that we use day to day in our respective units. So Andrea and I in the Arctic, and Chella and her team in dispatch. And you can see down the middle there that those are overlapping systems, not just amongst the 2 units, but amongst the 3 agencies with those 2 units. So it's just to give you a good idea of the overlap in technology, the overlap in intelligence systems, open source data. Like it's a little bit bananas, the overlap. But we felt like showcasing that in this slide would be important, so you can see what we're saying. Kind of, it is true.
And that's really where the partnership comes in, because like both Nikki and Andrea have highlighted, with that consistent communication and being involved in stakeholder meetings. If you have 2 teams mining the same data at the same time, that's not good use of personnel time, right? So you really do want to put some really good frameworks around your workflow and make sure that we know whose team is taking lead on which systems in order to work effectively, efficiently, and get that time out as quickly as possible to the responders.
Can I just say one quick example? One easy example of that is that the license plate readers, the ALPRs, when you get the stolen vehicle hits or the wanted vehicle hits. So dispatch has already been confirming those hits for many years. If they have Flock or Fusus or other platforms, they've already been doing that for a long time. In the real-time space, we're not, my agency anyway, is not taking that away from them. They're still the first point to confirm that it's a stolen vehicle and it's a good hit. And then after that, the way that we kind of can set up the workflow is dispatch can take that, follow that vehicle as far as they can until a 911 call comes in, or their higher priority duties are pull them away. And then that's when the Arctic can now take over and start following the vehicle more closely, using different systems, launching the drone to where the vehicle was last seen to get that aerial advantage. So that's just one example of how you will work together as 2 units.
And how we do the workflow with our embedded asset down at the Elk Grove Center is he does have a portable. He comes up on our radio channel and he gives us real-time updates after the dispatchers have already dispatched the call for service, right? So as the officers are responding, he's saying, hey, your suspect is now on the 1-2 corner. This is what he's wearing, and he will follow that suspect after the dispatcher has already released that call and has moved on. So the dispatcher is still working the radio channel with the responding officer, but our real-time asset is giving us updates as to where the suspect's movements are in order for us to be successful.
Yeah. And those of us in the center, when the gentleman's name's Andrew, who works in our center from Citrus Heights, whenever he's working anything, we're like, how can we help? What do you need? You know, and so it's really cool to see that partnership. We've just kept a visual of an intersection for him, as far as like if there's a particular vehicle moving through and he's trying to do a few other things, we're able to do that. And then on the reverse, he helps us all the time. We had a bank robbery last week, and he put in quite a bit of time doing the research, and he, again, leveraging his systems that we don't necessarily have access to, just to create faster investigative results, has been fantastic. And so it also speaks to a staffing overlap and how we can really leverage staffing appropriately. So here's just some resources if you were interested. If you're interested in connecting with the National Real-Time Crime Center Association, the APCO PS Connect is here as well. It's a QR code that'll take you to the site. Let me see a few folks with their phones up, okay? And then I'll move on. And then I know we're approaching we're right at 11:50. So are there any? And we're standing in between you all and lunch, so we don't want to take up time if you guys are ready to move on. But are there any questions from the group? Anything you would like to hear a little bit more about? Okay.
I think we nailed it.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so you talk about.
Hold it.
Our virtual friends.
Hi, I got questions. So you talk about operations and basically third-party contributors that are analyzing the data. Are those local, or are you outsourcing it to people in call centers somewhere else in the country or out of the country?
Are you talking about who's doing the research
Yeah.
within the center? Those are our personnel.
So those are your personnel.
Yes.
Okay. So we're creating jobs right here in California that way.
Yes,
Right.
we have
Okay.
we have actually 3 classifications. We have operators, specialists, and then analysts within the center.
Okay, that's what I need to know.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so I was just wondering, how are your guys' groups communicating with each other? Did you say over radio? Or
Yes, so when you say groups, do you mean us in dispatch or? Yep, we typically do most things over radio. We are able to, sometimes we'll utilize email, or we have the chat through the MDT. So we have the MDT version, or the first responder version of Mark 43. So what every officer has in their patrol vehicles, we also have on our desktops, and we're able to message through that platform if needed, if it's something that's not priority that we need to go over radio. But typically, definitely the priority information is going over radio. If it's anything intelligence-based that we don't necessarily want to air, our best form of communication, especially if they're in the field, tends to be either our work department-issued work phone, or email.
Gotcha.
And also Slack. So some of us are onboarding Slack for internal communication. We also communicate with some of our vendors via Slack. So Slack, but we're also all in our CAD systems, our CAD RMS systems. So in the Arctic, we have, for example, we're classified as dispatchers in our CAD system, so we can move around in CAD just like the dispatchers can. Again, another reason why we needed that relationship, so that they could train us on how to work within the CAD, right? So, and then there's internal messaging within that CAD system, so we can communicate.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then I think you mentioned also trying to get some of that relationship with OES started.
Yeah.
And then are you guys talking with CHP as well? Because I feel like.
Yeah, actually, so just last week I had invited CHP Air Ops to come out and view our DFR program. It really from a safety perspective, because I was like, oh, hey, we're going to be sharing airspace. It was the best 2 hours that I've had in a long time. It was a very reciprocal conversation. We learned a lot about aerial observations from them and safety and whatnot. But yeah, to get better to your point, we do have a chief an assistant chief with CHP that we're working with. He's actually presenting at our next California Arctic meeting, presenting the NTAC. And I actually came and visited Cal OES in Sacramento, your command center, not that long ago, and we walked away with a ton of resources. And I'm like, we need them embedded in our Arctic so that we can share, even if it's one day a week, where we can share and collaborate information, share resources, and have that relationship before the emergency happens, right? So, yeah. CHP is one we're working on. We're working on a lot.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And actually, just a real quick, another addition to your point, my position actually serves as the emergency management coordinator for the city of Elk Grove. So I'm closely connected with SAC OES, and then we also have connections with Cal OES. But my goal is to have Sacramento OES come down for a tour. We've done that before, but people change positions, and so they have some new folks, and so they will be coming down. But that partnership is very important for communications and just preparedness and all the things, having the right contacts.
And utility companies, like PG&E wants to partner. That's going to be a huge win with us because PG&E's, they're one of the frontline workers on natural disasters, right? So it's as big as you want to make it. Like, the sky is the limit on this and what this collaboration and technology will look like. Yeah.
Any other questions from the audience? A couple in the back.
Last year I heard about tactical dispatchers.
Oh my
does
gosh.
does that have a role with what you guys are doing as well?
So not in the Arctic as much, but TAC dispatch is near and dear to me. So they basically respond. There's Chella, maybe you should take this, but basically they respond in the field with SWAT teams usually, but there is a fire version as well, and it's amazing. But do you want to talk about it a little bit more, Chella? Do you need the mic? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so TAC dispatch is just an element of the SWAT team, and Nikki is more versed to talk about this than probably anyone in the room. She was one of the inaugural members of our tactical dispatch team, but they train alongside of our SWAT team and do a lot of that first point of contact intelligence work in the field or make the packets prior to responding, and dispatch from a place that's safer than the operators are going in. But absolutely, if you want to talk about a good collaboration, the Arctic feed the things that they're finding, they can absolutely feed to the TAC dispatch team, who then can relay it to the incident commander, et cetera.
Yeah, like I was looking at Dan's box over there, and I was like, Dan, what is that box called? Yeah, that was very exciting. So that would be a great advancement for TAC dispatch in the field, right? If they can have something like this at the command post, I mean, there would be some very happy SWAT folks there, right? So again, yes, Arctic can help, but this technology can serve in the dispatch world or in the field as well on the go.
Absolutely.
So as a girl dad, I appreciate that you were using the Ulta and Sephora examples. It's pretty cool.
Yes.
But my question is, from a video, how does video or how does technology impact your retention rates in terms of dispatchers? Right? How does that help? Does it help?
That's actually a really great question, and that's one of the reasons why we feel so passionately about being open-minded to dispatchers coming in the Arctic or the Arctic overlapping in dispatch, is because dispatch inherently does not have anywhere to go outside of dispatch, right? And that actually can lead to burnout. So in law enforcement, and maybe even in the fire profession for sure, there's different fun ancillary duties that you guys can do that dispatch has not had an opportunity to do. So we think that by allowing someone like Andrew, who's a dispatcher, he's still employed with the Citrus Heights Police Department as a dispatcher, but giving him a 2-year or 3-year assignment to A, gain some perspective, but B, maybe limit a little bit of burnout by not answering 500 million 911 calls in his 12-hour shift. And he's learning, and he's a great representative of Citrus Heights law enforcement as a whole. So we found that it's just, I mean, why wouldn't you do it, right? That's where our mindset's at. So.
And I'm really glad you let me wrap around this question, because I had regret with where I finished my initial statement about allowing him to go, because at the time we were short-staffed. I didn't get to finish the story, which is we are now 100% fully staffed. Yeah. And it's very rare to have a dispatch center that is fully staffed. But when I talk to people who are applying for dispatch centers and I say things like, we have a tactical dispatch team, we have availability to go down and work in the Arctic as an asset. We are going to allow you to do something that is beyond being tied to your desk the entire time. That is incredibly attractive to folks, especially those that are coming out of the Air Force that have, I just use that example because I just picked up 2 people that were prior Air Force dispatchers, right? And so people are looking for that excitement and that variability in their careers, and that is going to help us keep them for the 30 years that we want to keep them, right? We've got to allow them to grow and have variety.
Yeah, recruitment and retention. It's both.
Amen,
yeah,
sister.
It's both. Yeah.
All right, should we do our last question?
Yes, we can.
Oh, we got one more question, then we're going to try to not keep you guys too late.
So this is kind of for Elk Grove. You received the first FAA approval for non-line of sight.
Yes, that's right.
Drone work.
Yeah,
Have
it's a
you-
big deal. It's a big deal.
Have you deployed that yet?
Have we deployed that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So that is actually my counterpart, Lieutenant Nate Lang. He is the one who oversees the drone program and was responsible for working to achieve that, to get that waiver approval. We have deployed it as far as, yes, we have the ability to, and we've utilized this a few times. We're still working through the workflow specifics as far as launching at different times of the day. We still have dedicated hours for our pilots, just for staffing purposes. But as an example, we did have a shooting on a Sunday at 6 p.m. and we had our operator who also serves as a DFR pilot, who was working in the center, and she had one other operator with her. And when that shooting occurred, she was able to launch the drone. And so because we didn't need somebody on the roof, right? So we were able to provide an overwatch. And unfortunately, just because of the way the information came out from the reporting party, that particular footage it didn't result in apprehending the suspect or anything like that. They were already long gone. The RP actually waited a long time before she called the cops, and it's a whole thing. But that ability to be able to leverage the technology right now, right, and not have to wait for the visual observer on the roof. And it's Sunday at 6 p.m. when everybody's home and getting ready for the week. We were able to do that. So we're still working. So full deployment, I would say we're about 50% as far as understanding what exactly, because we have to work through some logistics to make sure that program is going to be really safe.
And have they given you any idea of how long you have to be a test bed before this can be rolled out?
So that I don't have that information. I can get you our lieutenant's information because he's the one more connected with that.
So the FAA is,
You're welcome.
they are working hard at streamlining their FAA waiver applications. So we have our first responder BVLOS waiver. So we're already flying our DFR up to 400 feet, but we have to have what's called an RPIC. It's basically a person on the roof to clear the airspace visually. But in the next couple of weeks, we're going to install our radar. So that's what this kind man was referring to, is we're going to install the radar, which is just like Elk Grove, where eventually when the FAA approves our advanced waiver, then we can fly remotely with a radar, and it will remove the need for the person on the rooftop, the RPIC. So we're already flying just like them. They were already flying with their DFR. They just had to have a person on the roof. We're also all flying up to 400 feet as our max altitude, if you will. And now, because of their advanced waiver, they can fly without the person on the roof. But to Andrea's point, there's still a lot of just logistics and workflow to work through to do so very safely, right? But yeah, it's amazing, and supposedly the FAA is going to move faster at approving those waivers.
So please do feel free to reach out to us. We are available to help in any way, shape, or form that we can, whether it's a real-time question, a dispatch question, or where as a girl dad do you get the best deals at Ulta? We're here for it. But we're gonna leave you with a question that was actually from one of your APCO members that they posted over the weekend on your PSC Connect board, because she hasn't had any responses yet. And I think her question is really poignant and applicable to this presentation. She asks, I'm looking for anyone who can help express what the answer is to, with law enforcement agencies move towards intelligence-led policing, what does the telecommunicator's role look like? Officer, analyst, decision-maker roles are defined and explained in article and research models over and over, but nobody is giving what does this change look like for telecommunicators. Any feedback would be greatly appreciated. And that's from one of your members in Texas. So we're just gonna leave you with that thought that there is hope and hunger out there for this topic. Please do consider her question and what this looks like for your agencies, for the people that you serve, for the people that you our vendors for, and help this telecommunicator out there in Texas, who's one of our APCO members, answer her question, because it sounds like they're looking for ways to implement. So anyway, we really do thank you for your time.
Thank you, and help Rosie Pacheco.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very, very much for that presentation. We're always looking for things that tie operations and technology together, and that certainly fit the bill. And if you guys are interested, we'd love to have you at the state conference if you want to do something very similar to this. You'd be reaching out to an even bigger community. So thanks again. All right. With that, we will break into lunch. From what I understand, it's down the hall, conference room on the left. Just build your lunch and then bring it back here. And then once everyone's back and assembled, we'll do door prizes. Then we'll break out for frequency coordination at 1 o'clock. Thank you.